Hello, my name is Michelle Adams and I am with Santa Ana College, and I am here today to teach you a little bit about your brain, a little bit about your body, and a little bit about your breath and how to manipulate those so you gain the greatest amount of energy. So, love my life. I want you to close your eyes and feel into your body in this moment. How do you feel? Okay, where do you notice your attention going? It might be in your gut, maybe you haven't eaten breakfast yet, or lunch, might be in your chest, might be some nagging thoughts that you have going on in the brain. But what would it feel like if every day you got out of bed and said, I love my life, I am so happy to be here, I'm so grateful that I'm alive? What would that look like? How would that feel? The goal is for you to learn how to practice this, okay? So today I'm bringing you Soar, and it's about thriving both on and off the job. The skills that you'll have after this course will enable you to deal with any emotion that comes up, okay? So this is a little bit about me. I am an adjunct at Santa Ana College. I'm a yoga therapist by trade. I also work for Dr. Joe Dispenza, so you guys can Google who that is. I'm a trainer and coach for heart math, and you're gonna get some of the heart math tools today. And then the rest you can just look over quickly. All right, the reason that I show you this slide is because of that little guy right there. So, many years ago, we were told that we could no longer have any children. We had the two girls, and my endocrine system decided that it was tired and it shut down. So I was in my early 30s when I was given that diagnosis, and so we were told we wouldn't have any more kids. Additionally, there was 5 other things that I was diagnosed with at the time. And so the most important thing for you to get out of today's course is what goes on between your ears is more powerful than anything that goes on out there. So the rhetoric that you tell yourself every day has more to do with your physiology than what you eat and even how much you sleep. Pretty impressive. So what ended up happening was I went on this healing journey. My degree from college was in finance. I was a graduate school candidate in also finance, and I shifted careers to heal my body. And that's actually why I'm here today, is to teach you this information so that you can manifest whatever it is that you want in your life, whether it's more peace, whether you want to feel like you've slept 6 hours, even if you only slept 2, all of that is doable, okay? So going on, the agenda for today is I'm going to train you and teach you about attention. You're going to take a couple of tests. I'm going to teach you about Soar. You're going to learn about your heart. And then finally, you're going to learn about what coherence is, all right? So, and I should say lastly, you'll learn about the 3 Bs and how to deal with your brain, your body, and your breath for optimal performance, okay? So, question, what have you been focusing on this last week? Has it been worry or stress? Maybe you've been on forced OTs. Has it been fear? During COVID, most of my students were toggling back and forth between these two. But what if that was your predominant thought? What would your day look like if that was it? All right, so we're going to do a couple of tests. I'm assuming you're sitting comfortably, but if you're not, sit down comfortably. And I want you to notice what your posture is. How are you sitting? And just notice, okay? Now don't change anything, because that's normally probably how you sit. And notice how long your inhale is and how long your exhale is. Just notice how many seconds is an inhale, how many seconds is an exhale. And if you have something to write on, write that down or remember it. All right, now you're gonna do your breaths per minute. So how many breaths do you have in this minute? And I'm gonna start a timer for you. Exhale all your air out, and don't adjust your breath in any way, but now start counting. Inhale, exhale equals 1, and how many breaths do you have in this minute? So it might be easier for you to close your eyes, but don't adjust anything. And most of us, it's going to seem like the longest minute of your life because you're focused on it. But I promise you I have the timer going. Got 10 seconds left. And stop. Okay, so write that number down. And then the last one is your BOLT score. This is your blood oxygen level test. This tells us how your chemoreceptivity to carbon dioxide is, okay? So what it looks like is the difference between going up 4 flights of stairs and are totally gassed, or can you go up 10 flights of stairs and are gassed? So I'm gonna count you through 3 breaths. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. At the end of that 3rd breath, you're gonna hold your breath out for only as long as is comfortable. So I don't want you turning blue. I just want you to hold it for as long as is comfortable, and then notice when you need to breathe. What's gonna happen is I'm gonna have a stopwatch going, so I'm gonna count it down, and you're just gonna take notice of how many seconds you're able to hold that, okay? So, getting my stopwatch ready, you're gonna exhale all your air out. Take an inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1, exhale, 2, 3, 4. Again, inhale, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4. Last time, inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale all your air out, 2, 3, 4. Now hold your breath out. And so you have 4 seconds, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, and 40. Anything over 40 is where we train athletes, okay? So we're gonna go back around. What is your normal posture? Most of us are doing this. Most of us have a phone next to us, and we're doing this all day long. So 2 minutes like this raises your cortisol level or your stress hormone, but lowers your testosterone. 2 minutes. 2 minutes sitting up nice and tall reverses that completely via blood. So as often as you can, notice where your shoulders are. If you have teenagers, I like to have them text on the couch with their butt up against the back, legs up, text upside down. It helps them build new neural pathways in the brain. It also helps that kyphosis, so they start feeling better, okay? How long is your inhale versus your exhale? Place 2 fingers on your carotid artery, and I want you to notice what happens on an inhale versus an exhale. See if you notice what happens on an inhale, what happens on an exhale. So most people, when you inhale, the heart rate beats a little faster. When you exhale, the heart rate beats slower, okay? So if your inhale is your sympathetic nervous system turning on, and we're gonna go over that in a bit. But inhale is sympathetic nervous system turning on. So if your inhale is greater than your exhale, that just tells us that you are not using as much parasympathetic nervous system as we'd like. You're a little more aroused, okay? So if it's equal, or your parasympathetic or your exhale is longer, that's where we want you to be. So throughout the day, I want you to notice, after lunch, after a call, where are you? Are you more sympathetic or are you more parasympathetic? And like I said, we're gonna go over this again. So breaths per minute. How many breaths do you have per minute? So typically, heart rate variability is optimized when you're at 5.5 breaths per minute. If you're over 6 feet, it drops to about 3.5, 4 breaths per minute. So a few years back, I was in Long Beach when the captain had just been killed. And I had a group of firefighters in a circle, and they were explaining, or they were telling me, you know, okay, I had 15, I had 16, I had 27 breaths per minute. 27 breaths per minute looks like you are running from a tiger all day long. That is hyperventilation, okay? And that wastes a lot of energy. So of course, someone who's breathing at 27 breaths per minute is gonna feel more exhausted than his coworker that's breathing at 5.5, 6, 8 breaths per minute, okay? So I'm gonna teach you how to breathe. Lastly, your Bolt score. Your Bolt score tells us, like I said, the chemoreceptivity to carbon dioxide. If it's below 26, if your breath hold was less than 26, it tells us that you're not breathing functionally or optimally. So we can teach you how to breathe more optimally. And that's the goal of the class today, okay? So, squeeze on resilience. Usually in a class I ask this, but I want you to think about it. What happens when you squeeze an orange? Does grape juice come out? Does apple juice come out? No, obviously. Orange juice comes out, right? What happens to you when you've been squeezed? What comes out of you? What you've practiced to be. So if you're angry, if you're frustrated, and that's what you're practicing to be on the job, you get pressed when you get home, and guess what's going to spew out of you? The anger, the frustration. If you've been practicing how to be more joyful, if you've got an amazing role model that you're constantly going after, Martin Luther King, Einstein, whoever it is for you, who's that echelon for you? If you're constantly emulating that person, that's what's going to come out of you, okay? All right, so research shows that by the time you are 35, 95% of who you are is habituating. You're just running programs. So you have a neurological network in your brain for driving your car, for riding a bike, right? When you first learned how to drive a car, what did that look like? If you're as old as me, in the olden days, you stuck your key in and you turned the ignition, but you couldn't do more than one thing when you were driving a car at 15 and a half, 16, right? You were fully focused. Now, how many things can you do in the car? Partly because your cerebellum, your habitual part of the brain, is just taken over. You don't need to think about it anymore, okay? So I like this little caption. All right, so what is resilience? Resilience is your capacity to prepare for, recover from, and adapt in the face of stress, challenge, or adversity, okay? We know this. What we didn't know until HeartMath came on the scene is that we can teach you how to build your capacity so that you will be more resilient after this class than you were before this class, all right? So why is it important? It's important for all these reasons. Someone who's resilient has great relationships, is successful. Physically and emotionally, they're healthy, okay? So all of these are affected by your ability to cope and recover from your stressors. So from today on, I want you to think of your system as a battery. And everything you do is either charging your battery or depleting it. So if I tell you that I am gluten intolerant and I go out and have a donut, what is that going to do to my system, right? Is it going to deplete it or is it going to energize it? So for me, it's going to completely deplete it. I'd argue for most people it's going to deplete it. But for me, certainly, it's going to deplete it, all right? So your system as a battery. Frustration, impatience, cynicism, anger have a toxic feeling and cause the release of stress hormones. They just do, all right? This results in your reduced muscle mass, brain cell death, impaired memory, accelerated aging, impaired mental function, and ultimately diminished performance. Okay, conversely though, patience, kindness, compassion, appreciation create neurochemicals that regenerate your system and offset that energy drain. So what that looks like is you have increased longevity. You've got increased resilience to your adversity. You've got improved memory, which is huge, improved problem solving, increased intuition and creativity, and ultimately improved job performance, okay? So intelligent energy management is just resilience, optimal performance, fulfillment, and health are grounded in that. Your ability to renew your energy expenditures. And that's what HeartMath brings to the scene, and that's what you're gonna learn, all right? So normally I ask the question, but since it's being filmed, I can't, but I want you to think about it. What is your autonomic nervous system? So your autonomic nervous system is what runs your body. Anything that you don't have to think about is your autonomic nervous system. So think of it as automatic nervous system. You were taught in school that it has two components. Your parasympathetic, or your rest and digest, kind of looks like a day at the beach, and your sympathetic, which looks like you're running away from a tiger. All right? So parasympathetic, your prefrontal cortex or your thinking brain can come online. You think before you react, state of ease, love and happiness happen here. If you're running from a tiger, fight, flight, or freeze, reaction, reptilian brain, survival response, under threat, once again, fear and anger. Not 100% true, but this is how you were taught in school, okay? Because like I said, when you put your fingers on your carotid artery and you were inhaling, were you under duress? Were you running from the tiger? No, you were just sitting there watching a video, right? But when you inhale, it is sympathetic nervous system response. So this is overactive sympathetic nervous system response is when you would be running from the tiger. But so adding on here, this horizontal line is your hormonal system. Above the line is your sympathetic nervous system response. Below the line is parasympathetic nervous system response. So I want you to look at this horizontal line. Anytime that you are on the left side of the grid, those are depleting emotions. You're releasing cortisol, along with a cascade of 1,400 other chemicals in the body. But cortisol is predominant. So anytime that you're on that left side of the grid, that is what's happening to your body. Cortisol is inflammation in the body. It breaks the body down if used in excess, okay? So above the line, can you think of an emotion that would raise your heart rate that is a negative or depleting emotion? So just think of it. So usually for most of us, it's anger or frustration ends up there, okay? Below the line, that looks like, for some people, it could look like fear, but sad, bored, hopeless would be there. Depression would be there, okay? So what about on this side? When you're over on the right side of the grid, you're releasing DHEA, which is known as the youthing hormone. Every time you have these emotions, you're releasing DHEA, okay? So that's the reason that, have you ever noticed that people who complain a lot age much quicker than people who have a zest for life? Who would you rather be around? Someone who's always glass half empty or someone who's glass half full, right? Who's easier to be around, okay? So above the line, heart rate's beating faster. What might that look like? So excitement would be there, passion would be there. And below the line could be love, could be peace, could be calm. Those are the things that we typically associate with below the line. So before I show you the heart math slide, I'm going to give you an example. So let's say, going from left to right, I chose to skydive. Totally excited to get up in the plane, and I jump out, my chute deploys, and it's smooth sailing. As I'm going towards the ground, though, my heart is not going to be beating slowly. It's going to be pumping. It's going to be an excited feeling. That's that runner's high. That's that you catch that perfect wave. That's what that looks like, okay? But it's an energizing feeling. You're still renewing your battery. However, if I was pushed out of the plane and I have a hard time getting my chute to deploy, then I'm going to be over here, right? It's terrifying, okay? So heart rate's still going to be faster. So the heart's still moving possibly at the same level, but it's very different effects on the body, right? So on this side, above the line versus below the line, I like to razz my husband a bit. So above the line, you meet that person and you're totally in love. And every time you think about them, your heart rate beats a little faster and they're just amazing, right? But after 27 years of marriage, it doesn't mean that it's not love, but it's just every time I think of my husband, I'm not up here, okay? So this is heart math's definition. So the left side of the grid, angry, frustrated, overwhelmed, is above the line. For some people, it doesn't mean that that's where you're at. Below the line, sad, bored, hopeless. Above the line on the right-hand side is enthusiastic, passionate, and courageous. And below the line would be appreciative, calm, content, right? So the goal here, though, is every time you have an experience on the left side of the grid, there is something you can do to change that, all right? And we're going to learn about that. So your heart has its own complex nervous system known as the heart brain, and it sends more information to the brain than the other way around. So patterns in the neural signals from the heart affect the brain centers involved in perception, emotional experience, and self-regulation. Why is this important? Because one of the main problems right now, especially with our youth, is that they're very anxious, okay? Most of it is because every time the phone pings, cortisol is released in the body. But if you're anxious, you're on the left side of the grid. If you're sitting in a classroom and you're anxious, how well are you going to be able to learn? If you're taking the captain's test and you're anxious, how easy is it going to be for you to pass that test? Okay? So a lot of my students come to me after they didn't pass the captain's test the first time and are going for it the second time because of being on the left side of the grid and needing more tools to handle that. All right? So heart rate variability. This is a good heart rate variability. Your heart rate is not this metronome. It actually varies beat to beat. So this person's got a 70 beat per minute that first strike, second was 76, third is 83, and it fluctuates. That tells us you have a good heart rate variability. What ends up happening with first responders is it gets shorter and shorter. So it might look like 70 beats per minute all the way across, or 70, 72, 70. What that looks like is your body doesn't know the difference between getting a call and going out for a fire or going in your front door. To your body, it's been trained that all of it is the same, okay? So we want to train this heart rate variability because when you're young, you have the most, but below normal heart rate variability for your age is a strong predictor for health issues, right? It's an indicator of your psychological resilience, and higher levels are associated with superior mental performance on tasks requiring executive function. So the executive functioning part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, is fully developed now, we believe in science, between 28 and 30. Males 30, women are closer to 28. It used to be, though, it was 25 for women, 27 for males. So it's shifting, but that part of the brain is your executive functioning. So what's coherence? It's an optimal state in which the heart, mind, and emotions are aligned and in sync. So physiologically in your body, what it looks like is your immune, your hormonal, and your nervous systems are all functioning in a state of balance. They're coordinating with each other. You're not depleting the energy in your body, okay? So the heart rhythms and self-regulation, heart rhythms directly affect the centers in the brain involved, once again, in foresight, awareness. But I want you to look here. So the thalamus, known as your thalamic gate, basically is the gatekeeper, safe, not safe. So when you are not coherent and your heart rates look like this, that's your heart rhythms, the thalamus gets the message not safe. It's sending information back to the amygdala in order to react. So if you put your hand on a hot stove, you're not telling your hand via the brain, lift, okay? That would take too many seconds, right? Your hand just lifts automatically. Heart got this signal, not coherent, react, okay? Otherwise, if you are coherent, you're going to have access, the thalamic gates saying, okay, we're safe, to all of the brain. The prefrontal cortex has access to all of the brain, and that's where you make decisions from, or where you want to make decisions from, not from a reactionary state. Okay? So, this is an example. The husband and wife were in a car. They were attached to HeartMath's bodyguard system, so it was actually on the heart, and noticing this gentleman's beat. So in the car, the wife said something that pissed him off, which is that red line. His heart rate elevated, and what I want you to notice is that even 40 minutes later, his heart rate was still elevated, even though the argument basically ended over there. But he was still pissed off about it. For our police, what we know is that domestic violence is their worst call. Their heart rate automatically starts beating faster, okay? What ended up happening before HeartMath's training, and we've done a lot of training in police, we're moving it now to fire. But right now, the majority of the research is in police or law enforcement. What would happen is we would see an incident similar to this, and without training, that individual's heart rate would be elevated 12 to 24 hours after the incident. So what happens if that was the first call of the shift? We see that on the news. That's what's happening now, all right? So this is the domestic violence scenario, but these officers were trained, this one in particular. So he encounters the angry man, they have the scenario, he already knows how to shift his heart rate down, and then he does a technique, which you'll learn today. He shifts it, and then he's back to baseline within 10 minutes. And that's what we would want for every call that you have, to be back to your baseline within 5 to 10 minutes max. All right? So the 3 B's. How many of you have dogs? Now I can't say yeah, raise your hand, but what happens when you've been gone for an extended period of time, the dog's been left alone, and you come home? Most of us think, oh my gosh, our dog's so happy to see us, you know, he's running around like a crazy person or crazy animal, right? Actually, yes, he's excited to see you, but also what really happens is he's an animal, right? And so you've been gone for an extended period of time and cortisol raises in his system, okay? You get home, you're safe. The dog needs to dispel or get rid of that excess cortisol. They dump it. What do we humans do? We sit in it, right? We do nothing with it, okay? So anytime that you're on the left side of the grid, 20 seconds they know is all it takes. Do jumping jacks, move your body, get rid of the cortisol in the system. It won't build up. Cortisol is implicated in everything from diabetes and heart attacks and strokes to cancer, okay? So dispel the cortisol. All right, so the snake, these are just reminders for me. So this is teaching you how you've been programmed. So let's say you have two homes side by side. A garden snake comes in through the back door. Dad's doing dishes, see toddlers on the floor playing. Garden snake comes in. Dad sees snake, screams, grabs toddler, leaves the room, calls 911. And then when I'm down in San Diego, I have my students raise their hand, how many of you have gotten those calls, and many of them raise their hand, okay? So snake's like, I don't want that, goes to the house next door. Same scenario, comes in through the back door. Dad doing dishes, toddler on the floor. Dad sees the snake is a garden snake, picks up the snake and says, look, Johnny, look at the colors. Look at how this snake moves. Feel its skin. And lets the snake outside. So what's the difference as those toddlers grow up between house one and house two? They're two, remember. So most of those children will not even know why they have a fear of snakes. They won't necessarily remember the incident from when they're two, but it just gets in there, all right? So up until the age of 7, you're in what we call the theta brainwave state. Everything you see, hear, smell, touch just goes in. You do not have a filter. You don't have that prefrontal cortex in the front of your brain to say, oh, that's not right. It all goes in. So I want you to think about how you've been programmed. Money doesn't grow on trees. Boys are faster than girls. Girls are smarter than boys. And the list just goes on, right? So I want you to think about that because all of us have programming that we've had since we were children, or that was basically put in there, that unless we're conscious and unless we're aware, it just becomes the fabric of who we are. And if you had excellent parents and an idyllic childhood, that's amazing. So you would want to emulate that and be conscious of it. If yours was not as ideal, then you need to be conscious of it. Otherwise, you're going to just go with the habits. How many of you are parents that have said, oh my God, I will never say that to my children, ever, ever. And then they get to those teenage years and all of a sudden something comes out of your mouth and you're like, oh my gosh, I turned into my mother, father, whatever, right? Okay? It happens to the best of us. So, the 3 B's. Do something with your body, do something with your breath, and do something with your brain. You're going to learn about this today. So you know the body now. 20 seconds. Research out of Ontario, 20 seconds. Flight, climbing upstairs, doing something not only gets rid of the cortisol, but it also improves your physical fitness. 20 seconds 4 times a day does more for the body than if you actually had to run for 20 minutes and just at a relaxed pace, okay? But it's all out. It's really sprinting. It's high intensity, all right? So, your breath. I'm gonna teach you how to breathe, all right? So in my group classes, I asked the question, how many of you know what one of the major businesses to invest in is these days? And no one raises their hands. And it's actually adult diapers, because most people in the West do not know how to breathe. And if you don't believe me, Google it. It's pretty crazy. So I want you to notice actually first where you're breathing from. So close your eyes and I want you to notice if the air is coming in through the nose, and see how far down it goes. So does it go into the chest? Does it go into the belly? Just notice, okay? So your diaphragm is a dome. When you inhale, that dome, that diaphragm stretches, okay? And you have internal organs that are at the base of that, so they have nowhere to go but out. When you exhale, your diaphragm turns back into place. But what ends up happening with your pelvis is it's inverse. So when you inhale, diaphragm stretches, pelvis is relaxed. When you exhale, you're supposed to engage the pelvis slightly and the diaphragm relaxes. So I want you to think about that for a moment, and then I'm going to teach you how to breathe. Okay, so your middle fingers are around your belly button on an exhale. So exhale all the air out. Make sure your middle fingers are touching. When you inhale, your middle fingers should no longer be touching. As you exhale, the middle fingers should come back to touching. So try it. Inhale through your nose, expand your chest, rib cage, allow the belly to relax. Exhale, draw your belly to your spine, relax the rib cage, chest, breath comes out the nose. Inhaling nose, expanding the chest, rib cage, relax the belly. Exhale, draw the belly button to your spine. Most of us don't breathe that way, okay? So now I'm going to have you place your hands, you're going to make C's, place them on the side ribs. Same thing. You're going to inhale, but this time I want you to have your side ribs expand out. So inhale, bring the breath to the side ribs as they go out. Exhale, comes back into place. So you should see my side ribs moving out. Good. One more. Okay, so now you're going to add on. So if you've got the side ribs going, inhale, your side ribs are going out. On your exhale, engage your pelvis, so like trying to stop the flow of pee and let the belly go towards the spine. So inhale, pelvis is relaxed, ribs go out. Exhale, start from the bottom, engage, bring the belly button back to the spine. Okay, so you're going to add on now. Inhale, you've got that expansion in the side ribs, belly's relaxed. When you exhale, pretend like you're fogging a mirror. Inhale, expanding the side ribs, belly relaxes. Exhale from the base all the way up. Pretend like you're fogging that mirror. Do it a couple more times. See if you can get that going. And then I'm going to have you close the mouth and see if you can recreate that sound. So you've got a nice big inhale. Exhale. Do it one more time. Inhale. Exhale. Fogging the mirror, but the mouth closed. So it sounds like Darth Vader. It sounds like a baby's breath. It sounds like the ocean in the back of the throat. Try that a few more times. When you make that sound, you tell your body you're safe. In yoga, we use a term, it's called Ujjayi breath. That's that breath. Turns on the parasympathetic nervous system because it activates your vagus nerve. And so we're going to talk a little bit about your vagus nerve here. So you can rest. Sit down. So anytime that you activate this nerve, you're turning on the parasympathetic nervous system. So how can you activate this nerve? You can do it by humming. You can do it by singing. Many of you are into cold plunges now. A cold plunge does it. It's activating the vagus nerve. But even if you don't want to get into ice water or an ice bath, if you use cold water on your face and the back of your neck, you've activated your vagus nerve, all right? So the vagus nerve is your 10th cranial nerve, and it goes through every one of the organs of the body. It innervates all of them. It's the thing, the nerve that tells your body you're safe, okay? Safe, not safe? You're safe when you activate the vagus nerve. I always have my students yawn. especially if you've been woken up between that 2 and 4 a.m. time when you're super groggy. Yawn on the way to the truck. Yawn enough so that you get tears in the eyes. Yawning is a reboot for the brain. It's amazing before tests, but it also turns on the parasympathetic nervous system and turns on the thinking brain, okay? So, how do you breathe? We just did that. This is key for you all. And if your Bolt score was less than 26, so when we did that breath holds, if you had less than 26 seconds, most likely you're not breathing down here into the side ribs and your belly's not expanding. And you could very well be a mouth breather. So if you snore at night, we already know that you're a mouth breather, okay? And we have ways to correct that. But this is the reason why you want to pay attention to whether you're breathing through your nose the majority of the time, even with exercise. So I teach my students who are in the military to exercise with mouth closed unless they're at HIIT. Then it's inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. It's only when you're running that race that you're going to get all that air in and out, okay? Because of not only nitric oxide, but CO2, all right? So nose versus mouth breathing, it imposes 50% more resistance, obviously, right? It results in 10 to 20% more O2 uptake, which is important, especially when you have a mask on and your equipment on. Warms and humidifies the air, it removes germs, which you know, but this is a key. It releases nitric oxide, okay? Nitric oxide is a vasodilator, bringing more oxygen into the body to be utilized. So if you're getting more O2 into the system, you don't have to work as hard, right? Breathing takes energy, okay? So this is what nitric oxide does. This is a normal cross-section. That's vasoconstriction. So when you're hyperventilating, your arteries are constricting. When you're not, you're in vasodilation, okay? So nitric oxide released in the nasal cavity and the paranasal sinuses and also in the arteries, okay? It's anti-inflammatory, and that is key. In fact, I was just listening to a talk by the person that won the Nobel Prize for discovering nitric oxide. He's in his 80s now. Cycles every day, many, many miles. Nitric oxide is the key. So if you're a snorer, if you're a mouth breather, at night you are not sleeping as well as we want you to. So that's where we talk about cotton taping. Tape the top of the lip to the bottom of the lip. Make sure that, and it's going to drive you nuts if you're a snorer, for the first 2 weeks. Usually my students tell me like 3 days is like the most frustration. So don't do those when you're on duty. But thereafter they get used to it. Then all of a sudden your aura rings are telling you that your heart rate variability is getting better. You're sleeping better. So we know that you're in deeper REM sleep. Your body's working less hard. You feel like you've got a boatload of energy, okay? So that's because nitric oxide is an anti-inflammatory. All right. It's a vasodilator. It decreases your blood pressure and improves blood flow. It enhances memory and learning. How many of you have ever noticed that when you are thinking about something, a problem or whatever, you start breathing through your mouth? Many of us do. So I want you to notice it, okay? Promotes a healthy digestive tract, increases secretions of hormones from many glands. NO will follow the airstream to the lower airway where, oh goodness, the nitric oxide will follow the airstream down to the lower lobes of the lung. So that's how you get air all the way down here. Most of us, and I call it my Marine breath, so if you were a Marine, I'm sorry. But when I teach the Marines, and thank you for your service, but when you're, it's almost a culture that they breathe like this. And then they're like, okay, my neck is sore, my shoulders are sore, and my low back is killing me, okay? So I'm gonna take this moment to teach you this. Place one hand on your belly and one hand on your low back. So I want you to breathe through your mouth and notice where you're breathing, how far your breath goes. So breathe, you open both nose and mouth and just breathe and notice what's happening. Now see if you can close your mouth and notice what's happening. And then I also want you to feel in the lower back. So as you inhale, what do you notice is happening in the low back? If you're diaphragmatically breathing, so the belly's going out, what's happening in the low back? And as you exhale, notice what's happening. So can you feel those low back muscles turning on an inhale? So if you are breathing diaphragmatically and your belly's going out, you're turning on these muscles with every breath so they become strong. What happens if you're just a chest breather? These muscles become weak. And what happens in fire, that's one of the easiest ways to go out on disability is back pain, right? Okay. So moving on, increases arterial oxygen, reduces your vascular resistance. It acts as an airborne messenger. It regulates the binding, so the release of O2. These are the diseases associated with low nitric oxide: high blood pressure, heart disease, heart attack, IBS, Alzheimer's, dementia, and you can read the rest, okay? That is all just from breathing. You can fix this really easily. So when I have my students tape their mouth, many of them go off of blood pressure meds, okay? Their heart arrhythmias start to go back in sync. It is powerful. So practicing these breath techniques is super powerful, okay? So how to breathe. Light, quiet, effortless through the nose, and a slight pause after exhalation. So just try it. As you're sitting here, just try it. You're gonna hear the ocean in the back of the throat, so you engage the vagus nerve. All right, diaphragmatic breathing reduces your heart rate, increases insulin, reduces glycemia, and reduces free radical production, okay? Heart rate variability increases, so we want your heart rate variability to increase during this breathing, indicating a better balance between your sympathetic and your parasympathetic. And if your body takes in more O2 and delivers it to the working muscles, that's where you get your higher VO2 max. And you'd also have a higher BOLT score, okay? And this is the last, so CO2, so carbon dioxide is key for how your oxygen is released. When you breathe heavy, you're panting, you're at 18 or more breaths in a minute, you lose CO2, which results in your O2 becoming really sticky to your hemoglobin, which means that you're not getting enough O2 to the brain and to the muscles, all right? So the heavier you breathe, the less O2 is being utilized in the body. All right, so adding on. So we're gonna start. Ocean breath. You're hearing the ocean in the back of the throat. You know how to do this now, right? So if you like Darth Vader, if you like baby's breath, that's your visual. Only through the nose. Long and smooth. Make your exhale equal to or longer than your inhale. There should be a slight pause at the end of the exhale before you need to breathe. Okay, and then we're gonna add on. So you've got that breath going, and then sometimes it's easier if you place one hand on the sternum or one hand on top of the other. Sorry, I'm trying to avoid my mic. Okay. Now from here, I want you to close your eyes and I'll talk you through this. Focus your attention in the area of the heart. So maybe it's just underneath your fingertips. Imagine your breath is flowing in and out of your heart or chest area. slower, deeper. Maybe an inhale for 5 and an exhale for 5. Notice how that feels. Just as you place your awareness, most of us have been trained for distraction. See if you can stay with it. Imagining your breath is flowing in and out through the heart or chest area. Hearing the ocean. You have a relaxed belly on the inhale. You engage the belly on the exhale. Now make a sincere attempt to experience a regenerative feeling, such as appreciation or care for someone or something in your life. So it could be a vacation that you've had. It could be the feel of sand beneath your feet. It could be a perfect wave. It could be a family member. One time I was out at a station and the gentleman went through all of the family, the wife, the kids, and it was the brand new puppy that brought him into coherence. Now we train coherence. We actually have a monitor that will tell us when you have your peak or your optimal coherence, and you will be able to figure that out. So when I come out to the stations, you guys are all hooked up, and you guys know, okay, this is the thought, this is the breathing that I need to do in order to boost me or bring me coherent, all right? So the quick steps are heart-focused breathing, super easy, right? And then activate a positive or renewing feeling. So use this technique throughout the day when you feel stressed or anxious. This is that brain component. So you've got both the breath and the brain. You've lost your focus and you feel out of control. You want a sense of peace, or you want to set a clear intention, right? So usually at this point I ask my students, how many of you exercise weekly? And the majority of their hands go up, right? And then I ask, how many of you meditate weekly? And usually maybe there's 1 or 2 out of a room of 20, okay? And so then my question is, why not? So how many of you believe that your thoughts have something to do with your reality, with your destiny? Maybe, okay? So if that's the case, if you believe that your thoughts have something to do with your goals, or whether you accomplish them or not, okay? How many of you set up your morning this morning to be that greatest day of your life? And most of my students are like, not necessarily, right? This isn't to say bad you, okay? You're not perfect. No, this is all about cleaning off your windshield. For our first responders, this is the most important tool you can have. So let me give you an example. If I am driving a Humvee and it's raining, okay, and you're in the middle of the jungle and the mud's splattering all over and my windshield wipers are broken, what happens? Okay, I'm not going to get very far, right? Because I would need to clean my windshield off in order to be able to see clearly, see where I'm going. Same happens with the brain. When you meditate, even the heart-focused breathing and the quick coherence technique that we just did, that's meditation. You can include that, all right? That is cleaning off your windshield, all right? You are shifting from what you're doing to have a clean windshield, and you will be able to see the answers to problems. You will be able to work much more efficiently than you ever thought possible if you practice that. So 3-5 minutes a day. I have my students who are in fire do it before mealtime, because most of you guys don't miss mealtime. So right before breakfast, right before lunch, right before dinner, and before bed, you'll do a different meditation. But 3 times a day, if I can get 2 to 5 minutes, I'm a happy camper, and you guys feel it. So several of my captains have been our pilot program for the software, and they're seeing amazing results. So even to the point where headed for divorce with the spouse and no longer headed for divorce. So that's what happens when you get coherent, all right? So living in survival. You live in a state of survival or a state of creation. And so what is another word that we use for survival? This is what we call it. We call it stress, okay? So your thoughts. How many thoughts do you think we think in one day? So we think between 60 to 70,000 thoughts in one day, right? And how many of those thoughts are the same thoughts that you thought yesterday? 90%, all right? And then of those, how many are limiting versus empowering? Typically, you're 70% biased, okay? So you have an uphill battle, and it's all about becoming conscious. It's all about becoming aware. So when you have those breaks, those coherent breaks that you have before mealtime, not only will you lose weight, because when you're coherent, your body will detect when you're full quicker. But also, you will understand that if you've got that voice in your head that is constantly beating you up, you're going to start noticing it. Okay? All right. So this part is the mental rehearsal part. So you can either lie down or you can come to seated, however you want to do it. And then I'm going to guide you through a relaxation. So in the West, we call this non-sleep deep rest, or NSDR. You'll hear it. In the military, we use a term called I rest. It all originated from the term yoga nidra, meaning yogic sleep. So if you do a full 45-minute session of yoga nidra, it replaces 4 hours of deep DNA reparative sleep. So you'll get about 20 minutes here now, but that is the goal. The goal is to let the breath go, to let the mind go as much as possible, and let the body go. So I'm going to talk about certain parts of your body, but I don't want you to move them. I just want you to hear and relax them, okay? All right, so when you're ready, get comfortable. All right, so now that you're comfortable, close your eyes. And I'd like you to place your awareness on your right thumb, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, pinky finger, whole right hand, feel it, and now relax it, releasing tension into the earth as your awareness moves to your right wrist, forearm, elbow, upper arm, shoulder, whole right arm, feel into it. And now relax it, releasing tension into the earth as your awareness moves. Left thumb, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, pinky finger, whole left hand, feel, and now relax, releasing tension as your awareness moves to the left wrist, forearm, elbow, upper arm, shoulder, whole left arm, feel. experience. Relax. Awareness moves to your right big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, pinky toe. Whole right foot, feel it. And now relax it, releasing tension into the earth. Moving your awareness to your right ankle, shin, calf, knee, thigh, hip. Whole right leg, feel it. And now relax it. Tension releases into the earth. Notice the difference between the right leg and the left leg. As you move your awareness now to the left big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, pinky toe. Whole left foot, feel it. And now relax it. Tension releasing into the earth as you move your awareness to that left ankle, shin, calf, knee, thigh, hip. Whole left leg, feel into it. Notice the sensations and relax it, releasing all tension into the earth. As your awareness moves to your pelvis, feel into the whole pelvic girdle. Relax it. Now, can you expand your awareness beyond the body and out into the room? How far will your awareness move in the blackness of space? Move out the awareness further and further. Let go. Contemplate safety, stability, moving those qualities back into the pelvis as your awareness moves up. Lower abdominals, low back, feel in and relax, releasing all tension. As your awareness moves up to your mid-abdominals, your mid-back, internal organs, feel in here. Notice the sensations as you relax. Now expand your awareness beyond the body and out into the room. How far will your awareness go? Notice. Expand. Moving your brain from a beta to an alpha and even possibly a theta brainwave state. Contemplate courage, camaraderie. What does it look like? How does it feel? Train the body as you bring those qualities back into the body. And you move your awareness up to your chest and upper back. Feel in here. Notice if you can detect your heart's beat. Relaxing the chest, relaxing all of the muscles as you expand your awareness beyond the body and out into the room. Connect with something you love, something that brings you joy. What does it look like? How does it feel? Bring that feeling back into the body as you move your awareness to your neck, relaxing all the muscles around the neck. Focus your awareness on your right eye, left eye, right ear, left ear, upper lip, lower lip, head. Feel your whole head relax. Focus your awareness above your eyebrows. Point between your eyebrows and just feel there. Notice. Maybe your eyes are looking up into your eyebrows. Now expand your awareness beyond your body, out into the room. How far will your awareness go? In the blackness of space. Contemplating genius, excellence, optimal performance. What does it look like? How does it feel? Bringing those qualities back into the body as your awareness moves above your head. Imagining a light coming in through the top of the head. Its origination might be the sun, the moon, the stars. Might be a spiritual practice that you have. Bringing those qualities into the body. As you inhale, imagine a golden light coming in through the top of the head, relaxing, repairing, nourishing each and every one of the cells of your body as that light moves down the head, down the neck and out the arms, all the way out the hands. From the neck down the torso of the body and down each of the legs into the earth. Allowing this light to wash away all that no longer serves you. Now once again, bringing your awareness back to the heart. Imagine your breath is flowing in and out through the heart or chest area. Slower, deeper. Now activate that regenerative feeling. And spreading that feeling through each and every one of the cells of the body and out in the room. Maybe beyond the room, out through the city, the state. See how far your imagination will allow you to go as you walk in your amazing healing light. Beginning now to deepen the breath. Maybe start wiggling the fingers and the toes, starting to wake your body up. Possibly stretching your arms overhead, pointing and flexing your feet. Get back into your body. And then when you're ready, rolling over to one side, and with the aid of your hands, making your way back to a seated position. So a lot of my students use that in their strike teams as well to fall asleep. So some of my students tell me that they don't even hear my voice anymore. It's just the first sentence and they're out, and that's fine because this is going deeper. You're getting to that theta brainwave state so that you can be in that receptive space. So it's okay if you fall asleep. It's not important that you stay awake through that one, okay? All right. So now, spot check. Tell me where you are on the grid after we just did that. Just notice. And maybe you'll notice your breath. How long is an inhale for you? How long is an exhale for you? Do a couple. And did it change from the beginning of class? All right, so here are your takeaways. Quick coherence technique, what we did. You're gonna practice, if you can, 3 times a day for the next 7 days. And like I said, just before meal times. 3 to 5 minutes is all it takes. Parasympathetic nervous system activation, or that vagus nerve. Practice yawning when you wake up 3 to 5 times. You'll know that you've effectively woken up the brain if you get tears in the eyes. So it wakes up a part of the brain called the precuneus. All right. Ocean breath, you hear the ocean in the back of the throat. This is one of my favorites, dance, sing, and laugh, and you can do it all in the shower. So if you're in the shower in your morning, you turn on your favorite music, you're dancing, you're singing, you're washing, right? Okay. And then the very end of the shower, you turn it ice cold for 10 to 30 seconds, okay? Activating that vagus nerve, building resilience in the body, all right? You're gonna practice ums or hums. All of those, once again, they activate the vagus nerve, tells your body it's safe. So if you take an inhale and exhale and just go, you're gonna feel a different sensation in the body than if you're just breathing normally, okay? And I'll show you the research in a minute. And then I have a lot of my students that are on the truck in the grocery store practice this. So inhale, they're walking around, they're thinking, thank you. Exhale, they're thinking, I love you. And you know, they tell me all sorts of fun stories about what happens in the grocery store. And then mental rehearsal, okay? That's what we did. Meditation, get one that you like. I work with Dr. Joe Dispenza. He's got great ones. HeartMath has some that you can use. Find something that you like. And also on my website, you have some that are just free, okay? And then the college's website also. So if you access the college, you have those, all right? And then lastly, what are you feeding the field? So research confirms that when an individual is heart coherent, the heart radiates a bigger electromagnetic field than what it normally does. So your heart has a range of about 3 feet off the body. So that's the reason that we can measure. It's actually probably much longer, but as far as our technology right now, it's only about 3 feet off the body. So what that looks like is that when you walk in your house and you know someone's upset, but you haven't even seen that person yet, That's because the heart is sending that electromagnetic field. Think of your cell phone. Your cell phone has one as well, right? So the heart is ours. Your thoughts, emotions, and attitudes affect the heart's magnetic field, which energetically affects others positively or negatively. So that's the reason that sometimes A shift is more fun to work than B or C, or the opposite, right? It's because of that. We all affect one another, and this is what it looks like. All right. So, validation for the tools, development and validation of the humming process to increase heart rate variability and attention for college students, so we know it works for testing. We know thinking positively and training that affects neuroplasticity, how much growth we get in the brain, okay? And then this is what it looks like when we have our students who are police officers training with a heart rate variability device that we are bringing out to stations, okay? And then this is my stuff. So this is heart mouse training. That's Dr. Joe's training. That's my kids' book in case you guys have kids. And then that's how to get a hold of me. And that's it.